Hello, pursuers. Welcome to another episode of the Pursuit of Happiness podcast. I am your podcast host, Kimmie. As I promised you all, we would do a recap episode, so here I am. We are going to do some Ladies of London. We are going to do Summer House. Okay. And we are also going to do Beverly Hills. Now, as I love to famously say, let's get into it. Okay. Ladies of London, The New Reign. You guys, I love it. I absolutely freaking love it. So now I know who they all are. We have Margo, Martha, Kimmie, Mark Francis, Lottie, Micah, and Missie. And then Dara we had, and she's gone. It takes me a while. I'll remember your name, but I think I have to see you once or twice. This is the way my brain operates until I'm able to really put the face and the name together and then remember it, you know? I keep having to pause, and now the dog wants food, so the dog gets food, obviously. But anyways, so that's where we're at with Ladies of London. Like, now I've gotten the names down, and like the episodes are kind of getting more and more interesting. So I think the last time I did a recap, we kind of went over the fact that they all went to a winery, and at that winery, Missie was like, let's all go around and, get to know each other a little bit better. Now, it was up to everyone's discretion. Like, there was no guideline for what they could share or not share. Everyone sort of shared something. Kimmie mentioned that she was half Haitian and her father is Haitian. So, she was in Haiti with her dad, and she doesn't look like Haitian, but her dad, she looks like her dad. And it's just interesting when she's with them, people think that they're like a couple, Missie had shared that her brother was killed on Christmas Eve right in front of his daughter, like shot to death multiple times. And I think when she mentioned that, coincidentally, like Lottie mentioned that her dad was battling lung cancer. I believe it's lung cancer, for about 8 years now. Like, everyone it kind of took a dark turn. And then in the car ride home after that winery, so Kimmie was with Martha and Margo, and she was saying, like, I hate when people make it really dark. Like, they're attention seeking if they make it dark. So now 2 episodes have passed since that episode. So I just want to say that initially when I heard that from Kimmie, I was like, okay, that's so insensitive. It's obviously she's projecting, like, something has happened in her life that when this is said, it brings up a really dark period in her life. Like, she doesn't want to either remember it or go down that road. And I still stand by that. The next episode, I believe it was episode 4, happened that Kimmie was hosting like a kind of an art drinks type thing. So they had like a nude model that came there, and I thought that was quite funny. He was just kind of standing there with his hands behind his head, and like his dang was just dangling, as me and my daughter were saying. Like, it was just so, obviously they blurred it out, but I was surprised to see that Mark Francis was sort of like felt the most awkward, but I could see why. I mean, he's very like put together, and he's got good etiquette. So I think it would be off-brand for his image if he was very into what was in front of him. And even the ladies sort of bugged him, and they're like, have you never seen a penis before? I love the way he talks. He like really drags it on. He's really interesting. Are you still talking? Like, it's just so like, he's so English. And I think my dog is English too, because he's a Yorkshire Terrier. So me and my daughter always bug him, and we say, oh yeah, you're from England, and he's like, no, I'm from Iranian. Like, yeah, I'm like my mom. And anyways, but the way that Mark Francis spoke, very English, and the way he speaks, sorry. I also heard him on another podcast. He had an interview, I believe it was on the 2 T's in a Pod podcast. So he was very eloquent then as well. Like, he's very himself. So what we see on the show is how he actually speaks and behaves off camera. So that's nice to see. There's authenticity there. But yeah, he was the only one that was really awkward there. All the other ladies loved it. They engaged. They drew the penis. He drew, like, he put a bush in front of it, like, so that he's looking at the naked guy, but he grabbed a plant, and the plant was kind of covering his dang. So he had like the body of the guy, but then like a bush where his dang was. So, really on brand for who his character is anyways. But that was fun to watch. It was a good scene. And then after that, I believe Missie initially chat with Kimmie, and she was like, listen, like, I heard that you kind of were upset with me sharing such personal information. And Kimmie was honest, and she said, I just think that when we're at a winery drinking wine, that's not the place to be like trauma dumping. Okay. So, and like, I didn't watch that episode once. I actually watched it twice. And then Margo gets involved, and Margo's like, Kimmie, you're the most like attention seeking person ever. So, you're saying that Missie said this for attention, but you're the one that always seeks attention. Like, one thing I got to give Kimmie, she's got great style. Like, I love her sense of fashion. She's very colorful, and I love color. I love her makeup, how she's got the black, like, eyeliner on the top lid, and then she wears, like, really colorful lipstick. Like, I love that. The gap in between the teeth, very sexy. Looks-wise, I think she's great. I think there's just a little bit more about her that we don't know quite yet, hence why a situation like this might be triggering for her. Because let's say I was in that situation. I have a best friend as well, and so a little context, I used to be the type of person that would just go into my life and tell everybody everything, even if I've just met them once. And I still do when I get to know people. Like, I have really nothing to hide about my life. I don't live this crazy secretive life, and I have some aspects of my life that are outrageous, and maybe one day when I write my book, I'll be able to speak about it. My 20s and my 30s, I would say even up until a few years ago, were just crazy up until I turned 40. Honestly, I really calmed down a lot once I turned 40. I was like, I'm not going to live this kind of crazy life anymore. But anyways, I'm digressing. But there's a time and a place, and this is what I've always been the type of person. Even when I would divulge information to people about my life, I've always been the type of person that was like, guilty until proven innocent. Whereas I have a best friend, and everyone's innocent until proven guilty. So she doesn't care what people know about her. She'll divulge information about herself. She's like, I don't care. I have nothing to hide. I have that same attitude, except I feel like people have to earn it, So it's like you're looking at two different points of a coin, like two different faces of the coin, heads or tails. Like, both are, to me and my best friend, both people that have nothing to hide. She's willingly going to give information, and I hold back until I get to know the person a little bit better, until I can trust them a little bit more. And I'm like, because even though there's nothing to hide, it's still a part of my life, and it's a part of my life that I wish to share with people that I want to share it with, even though I have nothing to hide. Do you get what I'm saying? So it's just two different ways of looking at it. So when I watched the episode first and then I rewatched it, I'm like, I understand where Kimmie's coming from. Like, she might have more boundaries. Like, I still feel like there's something about her that we don't know yet, which is why she was so triggered by that conversation. Because beyond having boundaries about when and where to speak about sad things that have happened in your life, she seemed to be so triggered initially from that conversation. So that's the part that we have yet to see. But maybe that's also a slow burn for us. Like, just like how me, like, guilty until proven innocent. Like, I have to make sure that this is someone that I'm going to trust, and then they get to know a little bit more about me. It's like, it's like, now they get the prize, right? Why buy the cow when you can get the milk for free? Do you get what I'm saying? So, and again, not that I'm anything special, but it's just, there's boundaries around how much you're willing to share to people that you just don't know, even though there's really nothing to hide. So I guess in that sense, I am a little bit like Kimmie, like, I get it. But then I understand Missie wanting people to know about her as well, because maybe for her, it's just such an important piece of her life and her identity, because it was her brother. And I'm sure that an incident that's so traumatic like that has shaped the way that her and her family are, and how they deal with things, and how they react and act, and how they just live now in general. So that's also her prerogative. That's for her to want to share that. So Kimmie being the type of person that won't share that type of stuff until, she gets to know the person better, or there's a time and place. Missie, on the other hand, this is who I am. This is what's happened to my family. This is important to me. This was my brother that was killed. I'm gonna share his legacy and make sure that he didn't die in vain by talking about his story. Okay. Now, we don't know what he was into or what he did. So a side note and a little bit of a digression. There are certain industries, quote unquote industries, and workforces, quote unquote work, that you do that put you more at prone to violence than others. And I'm just going to leave it at that. So I could see how Kimmie, and I come from Vancouver and I live in Mexico. Okay. So don't tell me that I don't know what I'm talking about, because I know exactly what I'm talking about. Okay. And not to mention the father of my daughter, but that's, like I said, another story for another day with a book. Eventually that's going to be released, but I know what's up and I know how you can get into these situations. I also know that there's innocent bystanders. There's always collateral damage in these type of situations. So we don't know that depth. Like, she kept that part sort of like, she kept a boundary around that. I think her divulging that information was to just let the ladies know, like, this is something traumatic that's happened in my life, and it's fairly recent, and this is now shaping who I am as a person, rather than getting into the details of it, because that really doesn't matter in the end, you know, because it's more about her and how it relates to her, rather than making about maybe her brother and the deeds of whatever happened, you know, or his mistakes or whatever. And I think that if you look at it that way, you'll appreciate what she had to share, you know. But I don't think it's fair for Kimmie to say that you shouldn't have shared that, because that's not for her to decide. And when the girls started sharing, no one said, okay, we can't share anything negative. Say one happy thing about yourself. I believe, if I remember correctly, all Missie said was, if we're going to be like getting to know each other better, like, let's each go around and say something about ourselves that other people in this group don't know. Moving on to episode 5, you could see that there's 2 groups of people that this new series, Ladies of London, I believe it's season 4, have brought together. So you have Mark, Emma, I forgot Emma. So you have Mark, Emma, Martha, and Kimmie. They're a group. Okay. And then you have Margo, Missie, Lottie, and Micah. Okay. So there were 9. Dara's no longer there. So these are the 4. You have these 4, okay, and then you have these 4, and it's clear that it's not divided, but like it's broken up into 2 groups of 4, and now they're merging these groups together. So it's just they're trying to get to know each other. Back to Kimmie kind of being upset with Missie about sharing this information. I get it, boundaries, but also like, Kimmie, darling, I really do like you, but you've also signed on to do a reality TV show. Go back to my episode before this where I was talking about all the drama that's going on with all the Bravo stuff. We as an audience appreciate a little bit of the drama, the conflict and the resolution. What's the point of coming on a TV show and being drunk the whole time and drinking? Not that they were, I'm just saying that's also not a TV show. And your show is not going to last past 2 seasons if that's all you guys do. These type of shows want the conflict. The audience wants conflict. But the audience also wants to see people moving past the conflict and moving on to the next conflict. So it's conflict resolution, conflict and resolution, conflict and resolution. And I think that Kimmie missed that part because she's so adamant on saying that it was not the time and place. Like, I don't want to be hearing about that when I'm at the winery. Great, but that's you. Then that's why you didn't share anything negative. But if others want to, realize that you're on a reality TV show. And then when I heard Mark on that, remember I was mentioned earlier, he was on that podcast, the 2 T's in a podcast, and it was Teddy, I believe, and Tamara wasn't there. It was Teddy and Dolores that interviewed him. And he says that, you know, as the season goes on, I believe his crew, which is Emma, Martha, Kimmie, and himself, they're on the outs with Margo. Like, he has gotten to know Margo the least. And you start to see it in this next episode. Out of their crew, Martha's still defending Margo. She's like, Margo's great. She's fabulous. She's my friend. She's there for me. But, you know, you can start to see that it's putting a kind of a divide. Like, Kimmie starts to act out a little bit more towards Martha because she's friends with Margo. I don't see Emma and Mark stepping in and being like, well, maybe, in fact, Mark kind of feeds into the gossip about her and says, yeah, I have a friend that saw her at my party, because you remember the first episode was a party at his place, and they're like, they could hardly recognize her. She's changed aesthetically, verbally, everything about her is just different. Like, she's just a different person now. She has money, and so she's kind of pulling like the Amanda Frances of it all, like kind of bragging about her, what she owns and what this is and what that is. And I'm like, okay, understood. But also, and not for Mark, but back to Kimmie, like, understand that you're on a reality TV show, and if this is what's going to move along the story and give the audience something to watch, and perhaps give you guys a season 1 and a season 2, that's what you need to remember. So it's happened, and now let's make a resolution about it, or even like kind of like pounce on it a little bit more. I don't know, but make a show, because if it's just going to be drinking all day long and having fun, like, that's, in theory, that sounds great. That sounds like a freaking fabulous show. That sounds like the beginning of The Housewives, season 1 and 2 of Jersey, season 1 of Orange County, season 1 of New York. That sounds like that, but this isn't that. Now we're like 15 seasons deep on Jersey, almost 16. We're 20 seasons deep in Orange County. Like, the audience wants different playbooks for each show. You know what I mean? And I think Ladies of London is so far so interesting. I'm not saying it's not interesting, but, and I hate to bring like the production part of it, like the fourth wall part of it in, but like, you have to remember that you're also like filming a TV show, and like, if this is what's going to make it more interesting, you can't tell someone that they can't talk about things that are going to make it a little bit more interesting, like, I think, and again, back to what I'm trying to say, we've yet to get to the point where Kimmie is going to now divulge her information. Like, we have yet to see. It's probably going to get much more interesting too, So, lots to look forward to. I'm loving it. It's really, really is great. One thing I hate about first seasons is that they don't really have many episodes. Like, I think it's maybe 8 to 12 episodes, so anywhere between 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 episodes, and then it's done, because they just want to grab enough to kind of get the audience hooked, and then see if it's going to pan out for the next season, But so far, I'm loving it. When we get to season 5, you see that Kimmie actually reaches out to Missie again. And I think Missie's great for TV, and this is why, because she even says, she's like, I really want to hate Kimmie, but she's got great style. She's got these nice bags. She's freaking funny as hell, but I want to hate her because, like, of what she said about me sharing the information. But I like that they could sit down and they could get past it, and them getting past it now puts Margo in the hot seat. And so that's the scene. Sorry that I was telling you that Martha called out Kimmie and was like, why are you being an ass to me today? And Kimmie's like, well, because you're defending Margo, and Margo's a bitch. When Kimmie sat down with Missie to say, like, because see, and this is when I start to like Kimmie again. She's like, I really don't want Missie to think that I don't like her because of something that she shared. I just thought that it wasn't the time and the place. And she stayed authentically herself. She's like, look, this is who I am. This is the type of person that I am. I just don't like this type of stuff. So I'm sorry that I said that out loud. It wasn't intentional to hurt your feelings. That's just how I felt. And then gives a piece of information about Margo to Missie, saying like Mark's friend was, at his party, and says that Margo's changed a lot. She's not the same person that she was. So you be careful of Margo. And so now she's kind of realizing, okay, I'm part of a TV show. I'm going to play it up, because if Margo wants to go down that road, I will too. This is the part that I don't know, like, because I still want to think, I don't want to think of it too much as the fourth wall being broken, but I want to see, like, okay, did production go to Margo and say, hey, do this, can you do this? Or did Margo kind of naturally, being an American too, see the evolution of all these other reality shows and being like, okay, I'm going to go tell Missie what Kimmie said. Because even Kimmie said, because Margo was typically more of the crew that hung out with Kimmie and Martha. And was it her own natural instinct to be like, I'm going to go tell Missie what was said about her? Or was she pushed to do that? Because I feel like Kimmie felt so comfortable talking to Margo in that car about what had just happened at the winery and the stuff that was shared. So it's interesting to see. We'll see it all play out. Of course, we all know that all these reality shows have to have a villain. There always has to be a villain. So I think, it's a balance between Kimmie, who's authentically herself, and she's always kind of been this way as the villain, and kind of just speaking her truth, and that itself being like villain quality, or Margo for stirring the pot for being a villain, So we have yet to see. So Ladies of London, it's great. I love it. Watch it, you guys. I know it's just something else to add. I'm so glad that it's just a couple shows now, because a bunch of other shows are going to be ending soon. So let's get into Summer House. Oh, Summer House. I don't want to talk about these Easter eggs that keep popping up in Summer House because I don't want to look at it from a lens of me thinking that something was happening between Amanda and Wes. So I'm just going to say it. If you guys want to get my opinion on that, please watch the episode prior to this, the reality shows 2026. But I did see one thing, and it was when Wes had reached out to Amanda. And she's like, no, I got to go make this carbonated drink or whatever, and he kind of reached out to her. She flung his hand away. I don't think it goes that far back. I personally don't. Because at that time, we were all thinking that Ben was into Amanda, and I thought that maybe Amanda had something for Ben as well, just by the way that they would gleam at each other. I think that Wes was just their good friend. And I kind of appreciated at that moment, let's take it for what it is. I'm going to go play by play, not what I know in hindsight, but just play by play. It was nice for Wes to step in because nobody else did. It was nice for Wes to go tell Kyle, I've seen a lot. And Wes didn't defend Amanda. For that one incident he did. He's like, look, I've seen a lot of you guys going back and forth and I've never gotten involved because I'm like, okay, let them figure it out. But this time you kind of did it out of nowhere. And that's not cool, dude. And we were all there, And then Kyle says, well, instead of Amanda going and flirting with all these guys, maybe she could come hang out with me. I didn't see her flirting. I thought she was having a great time with her friends. So now she's not allowed to have a good time with her friends. Again, go back and listen to my other episode. I understand that everyone's all up in arms about this because they're comparing it to Scandival. They're calling it Scamanda. Poor Amanda. But I do need to say this one thing. And that is that it's unfair to say that this was a betrayal of some sorts because Sierra wasn't dating West. And even if that moment was caught on camera and there's something behind, and that is an Easter egg, at that moment she also still wasn't dating West. I'm not saying that there was girl code broken here because remember I said we just don't date each other as exes. It's just how it should be. And this is part of the reason that I left Vancouver. But it's unfair to say that this is as intense as a betrayal, because there's an affair. I believe that Sierra and Wes dated. They weren't officially a thing because when Sierra wanted to be officially a thing with West, that's when he split. That's when he bounced. That's when he did not want to be with her. It was too much for him. He was getting oogled by all this newfound fame on Bravo. And so that's when he called it quits with Sierra. And then as we saw, that was the first season he was on. And then last season, it was just him and Sierra going at it, Sierra being upset with him because he would go to the press and have these conversations, yada, yada, yada. And so now this season, he comes back in and they're finally getting along. And it's kind of sparking an interest in him again. But thus far, we have not seen anything come out of them as them rekindling their relationship. So I just want to recap the show as it is, despite having this knowledge and this information out at the back of my head. And I want to give everyone the benefit of the doubt. I want to give Sierra the benefit of the doubt that she really was trying to get back with West, and that West really wanted to see if maybe he was interested in Sierra again, and if the feelings were still there. Now, obviously, I know this is something that I know for sure that it wasn't, because even people were saying no, they still didn't get back together, and that he actually was dating somebody else. But then now with everything that's come out recently with Amanda, we do know for a fact that he actually was dating somebody else and also dating Amanda. So there's just so much going on that if we start to take that into a factor, like, then the show really means nothing. And again, this is part of the reason why I hate watching like the show, and then all the things on social media come up that are not in relevance at all to what's going on in the show. It's like 3 months later, a year later. It's like Bravo takes way too long for these things to come out because life keeps going on and life happens. And I think there needs to be some sort of like real time sort of like view of it. Even the after show, it's just so dumb. Like, now we're going to go talk about the show. Like, it's just, I'd rather get rid of things like that and do things in real time. Not wait for so long for the seasons to come out, and then get them on Watch What Happens Live as it's portraying to their real lives, because that would be so much more interesting, and then we're much more involved in what's happening, you know? Another thing about Summer House is that Bailey and Levi weren't there for it was like for Kyle's birthday party, because they did like the old person birthday party. But again, Sierra's outfit just blew it out of the water. She's got the best outfit. She really does the best costume stuff. And then Lindsay. Okay, so I don't know if I've told you guys this recently, but New York has been on my mind like crazy, and I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just the next phase of my life. Like, once I go to school and get my bachelor's in the technology that I want to do. Perhaps maybe try New York for a little bit. You know, my heart will always be here in La Paz. I will always be coming back to Mexico. I will own a home here. Mark my words. But New York, I feel, is like something that just popped into my mind recently. So it's an option that I just kind of want to explore. But with that being said, seeing Lindsay's new house made me really excited for New York. And the show that's coming out with them being in the city that's already been filmed, it's called In the City. And it's with Kyle, Amanda, Lindsay, and there's one other person. I didn't really catch who the other person was. But I'm so excited to watch this, because since Gossip Girl, like, and even the Real Housewives of New York, we are really missing the East Coast kind of like factor. You know what I mean? And I love watching Gossip Girl for that reason. Like, I like watching it more because of all the places that they go to in New York, and just Sex in the City is another thing. Like, sometimes I watch Sex in the City now, it's much harder to watch because it's so much more older now, you know? But I love it because the city still looks the same. And I'm just an observer of it. Like, who knows what's changed, because I don't actually live there. Like, maybe that restaurant is not there anymore. That restaurant was never really there, and that street's no longer there, and it's changed, and now that building is now a high-rise, because I know in Vancouver that happened a lot, you know, like bars that we used to go to when we were in our 20s are now high-rises, right? On the street called Richards, there used to be like O-Bar and, oh gosh, I don't even remember their names, and Richards on Richards. And I remember a kid that I went to high school with was stabbed in front of Richards and Richards, and he passed away. And now there's a high rise in its place where there was a little memoriam for him, you know? So I know it changes. Even another show that I love to watch that reminds me of New York is The Morning Show on Apple TV. And I always turn it on. I've watched it already, but I always turn it on because I really want to. First of all, season 1 and season 2 are the best. Steve Carell, Jennifer Aniston, Reese Witherspoon, amazing. But when Jennifer Aniston is in her New York apartment and it's night and you just see all the lights of New York, like, it is grand, you know? And I'm a person I'm from Vancouver. And Vancouver is very developed. It's like a Canadian version of like Hong Kong and like China. Like, it's so developed, high rises everywhere. There's a lot of Asian influence, and hence that's why it's like that. So for me, going to cities that are a little bit older, even coming to a place like Mexico, even traveling throughout the States, even going to LA, you don't find as many tall buildings as you find in Vancouver. I think the only other place in the world that I'm going to see what I see in Vancouver and to a bigger scale would either be in Hong Kong, China, or if I go to New York. And don't like all those three places are on my bucket list. Like I'm gonna go to all those three places at once because I love the high rises, and I love when the high rises look brand new and they're really like technologically advanced. Like it could be part of me as being a Vancouverite, being from Vancouver, that's in me. You know, like anything that doesn't look like it's brand new and polished and has like, and I know there's brick buildings, but like that have the all glass, you know, like if it's not like that, it seems freaking old to me, like really old, right? But that's like something that New York has. And I've never really been an East Coast person because I hate cold. But I'm like, you know what? I feel like with a city this big and with lots to do, it would keep me occupied. So let me just try it. And if I don't like it, I can always move. I'm not a tree. I'm not stuck. So anyways, that's my whole rant about New York. But in the city kind of gets me excited because we always see them at the Hamptons. And yeah, I'm so excited to go to the Hamptons and check that out at one point. It kind of reminds me of our Whistler or our Harrison. Like it's in a city that's about 2.5 hours away, an hour and a half, 2 hours away. And a lot of people go there for holidays or weekends. And it's normal for us too in Vancouver to do stuff like that. But, to watch them in the city, that seems like it's going to be so much fun. And I'll be damned if this whole thing makes it canceled, because I think, in fact, people are going to be more invested to watch it. Like, do West and Jesse and Sierra and even Paige make appearances on In the City? Because it's going to be focused on Amanda, Kyle, and Lindsay, and it's already been filmed, but we don't have really much leakage because, you know, if you leak the show, then no one's going to watch it. But I'm interested to see how it's going to be different than Summer House, because Summer House, they're always partying and they're always drunk. So are we going to see Kyle in a different light? Are we going to see Kyle a little bit more focused and with work? Like, how are their dynamic going to be different? Because on the weekends they're always partying, getting drunk. How is their business life going to be, you know, have an impact on how they behave on this show? Like, it's so fascinating to me, and I'm so excited to watch it. Like, it was a good idea, and I just hope that it continues to play out, because now we've lost The Bachelorette, and the real Secret Lives of Mormon Wives is now on hold, and we had lost Jersey and we lost Miami, and I don't want to get into like a gossip thing about this, but I feel like we're losing all the good shows because of the trajectory that all these shows are headed in. It becomes so toxic, and I blame us, the audience, because we're looking for that kind of toxic stuff. But anyways, back to what I was saying. Seeing Lindsay's apartment, I digressed a little too much there. The ADHD, really ADHD. But seeing Lindsay's apartment really got me excited for New York and like, oh, this new chapter and watching this new show. I thought it was nice for Carl to show up. I know that despite seeing Lindsay and Carl have these awkward moments, I know part of it is the production value of it. Like they kind of chop it to make it look like she's being like, okay, because the audience kind of like is groveling over how awkward Lindsay and Carl are. But I find that Lindsay makes it more awkward, and I feel like it's a little bit performative, like she's playing it up for the camera. Because if she really doesn't care, then she shouldn't really care. Like if you don't care, then and you invite the guy over, like actually don't care, you know. And he was so sweet. He brought her a gift. He brought Gemma a gift. I think you could see that Carl's completely moved on and he's into the next chapter of his life. But you could still see that Lindsay's holding on to a little bit of resentment, you know. And I can understand why. I'm a woman. But all I'm saying is, if that didn't happen, Lindsay, the new apartment that you have right now and the kid that you have right now that you love to death and all this stuff would not have happened. So just walk away from it a little bit more grateful that it happened, you know? Because sometimes things fall apart so better things can fall into place, you know? So, but that was nice to see, fun to see that. The episode ended with Dara coming and her wanting to have a conversation with Bailey and Levi and confronting Bailey. Oh, well, you told Lindsay that I went into the room for an hour with Ben. Production also said it, and production chopped and screwed the parts that you were in there and saying, oh, you're a bad boy or whatever she was saying, you know, you're going to get me in trouble. And we all saw, like, that episode that you showed up at the house, and that you were supposed to be there for Ben, but then you spent the whole time with KJ. You did go into the room and you came out. Like, did you go, like, why not just be honest about it? Because now, like, there's cameras involved. And if cameras are seeing, they're going to expose it. Like, you're the one that's going to look like a bag of shit. So, that's all. And I don't even know why she's there. Like, who is she? Like, why is she there? And why does she have confessionals? Like, I don't understand. Like, she's not trying to become like a full-time cast member, right? Because we got enough drama. We don't need another one. And I actually would rather see more of Bailey and Levi, because I love that they're like girls, and they like support each other, and they don't, when one is not around, they don't bash each other. I really admire that, really, about them. It's like they haven't been tainted yet by the cameras being there, so I like that. But apparently Bren brings a girl over, and Amanda makes a joke. This is I saw in the preview. Oh yeah, he's in love with me, and he didn't like that. So it's like Ben's starting to irk me too, and I think he's fabulously gorgeous. But it's like, hey, oh mate, okay, mate. If you don't like them saying that shit, mate, then why are you fucking joking about it? Like, it's hard to tell with you. Like, are you going to be on? Are you going to be jokey? Are you going to be jokey, Ben? I might, Ben? Or are you going to be like, no, I'm serious, Ben, right now because I got a girl over? Like, you got to be a little bit more, like, authentic here and have a little bit more guidelines about what you want us to do and who's around, because even I'm fucking confused right now, Like, I might. Like, I'm fucking confused, mate. Like, so, anyways, excited to see the next episode. Let's get into Beverly Hills. Beverly Hills, so the 3 episodes that they've been in Italy, I haven't really touched upon, but I want to say one thing. I was listening to the Carlos King interview that he did with Amanda Francis, and guys, I've turned. I like her. I do like her. And I listened to that episode before I watched the last 2 of them being in Italy, and I was starting to gravitate a little bit more towards her. Yes, things about her piss me off. The fact that, like, and I'm a very expressive person. My voice goes high, my voice goes low, my voice will go deep, my voice will go high, and I'm moving my hands, and if I don't have Botox, you can tell because my eyebrows will go up to my hairline, and I'm just a very expressive person. And it's interesting for me when I see people that are not like that. But then again, I told you I saw her with her man's name's Eddie, I'm pretty sure. I saw her with him, and they were having, and she was laughing and she was being loud and her voice went high and low. I think it's just when she's with the women, she kind of has to really ground herself and put herself in a mindset so that she doesn't kind of be bothered by what they're saying, because sometimes they can be a little bit triggering, the women. And I've said that before, like, even like, remember when they were making fun of her outfit on the plane when they were heading to Sedona? Like, who cares what she's wearing? Like, you guys are all richer than her, and actually, in fact, I've heard that she's richer than a lot of the girls on the show, but who cares what people wear? Like, why are we now making fun of the aesthetics and all that kind of stuff, So that part was just a little bit kind of alarming to me. But other than that, one thing I love about her, she's a millennial. Another thing I love about her is that she's very authentically herself. She uses her words so well. And she can identify, she's very self-aware. So she can identify in herself when she has these reactions to things, and she questions it about where it comes from and why. And you can only admire and respect somebody for being able to acknowledge that within themselves. Another thing that really struck a chord with me and made me really love her is that she says that she's neurodivergent. And she didn't really explain how or why. And I think that that's the direction that we're headed with the whole neurodivergency thing, because so many of the neurodivergent symptoms or, I want to say what, issues or things that people have are all intertwined. Like, I have ADHD, so I can be manic, and then I can be, as other people observe, lazy, but really it's just that I'm analysis paralysis. I'm kind of in a frozen state. Could that also be bipolar? Like, and maybe not so much depressive, but much more manic at times, and then much more like calmer at times. You know what I mean? So sometimes it's hard to distinguish between the two. And the spectrum of autism. Like, I am also very don't like to be around people. I'm very social, and I can be. Like, once I'm in a room, my energy is gravitating, and I have this energy that a lot of people say, my aura, I can gravitate people towards me. But a lot of my problems that have gotten me to a place of where I do kind of live in a analysis paralysis or a frozen state is because I've cut myself off from people, because I just find that small talk is just so like bullshit. Like Carlos King and Amanda Francis both pointed out that networking is not their thing, because like you're walking into a room with people and you're being fake. And now people are going to argue with you about that. And they're going to be like, well, that's the whole point of networking. Like, not necessarily being fake, but just meeting connections. But why would I want to meet connections with people that I find fake? Do you get what I'm saying? So that really resonated with me. And she articulated it so well. And just using the word neurodivergent rather than just saying like, oh, I have ADHD, and making it like so specific, probably having boundaries about what she wants to share. I really respected her for that. And I was like, you know what? I like her. I like her. And it took a podcast like that for her to be able to be safe and open up. And I think that that's what we were missing with the other ladies. The other ladies didn't allow her a space to be honest, and not honest, but to be safe enough that she could be more honest and kind of divulge more of her life and just kind of settle more into her feelings. She's kind of a little bit more guarded when she's around them, and for good reasons. Like, they've always kind of been on the attack with her, you know? So when they first get to Italy, you see them sort of, her going up to Dorit and wanting to have a conversation with Dorit. And I heard a lot of like chit chat about them saying that it's kind of weird that Dorit said, well, we'll talk after the dinner. I didn't think it was weird. If we're about to have dinner and we're in Italy, I'm going to be like, let's talk after the dinner, because now we've eaten and we're not going to be hangry. We're not going to be bitchy. We're going to be, have a glass of wine. We can chat. I don't think they ever got to that conversation, because from what I observed, Erica, the groups all split off, and then Erica and, this is the next day, Erica and Kyle go with Dorit, and they try to have a conversation with Dorit. And Dorit really wasn't having it. And then this last episode that I just watched today, which is like the end of Italy, and when they were going home, her and Erica kind of get into it. And I do love Erica, but I think Erica kind of misspoke on a lot of things. Like, she's like, you told me to shut up, Dorit. The flashback showed that Dorit never said to shut up. She just said, Erica, I'm not getting into this with you. It showed a lot of things that they were accusing Dorit of, but Dorit didn't do that. For example, another thing, Sutton said that, I'm going to end Kyle. She made it seem like it was so like, and she's like, well, you said those words, end Kyle. And then the flashback showed that Dorit, in fact, did not say that she would end Kyle. She was just like, I was there for Kyle when she was in the most vulnerable of spaces. And did I go and say things that would destroy her or like ruin her day or her life and things like this? Absolutely not. I did not say that. Could I have? I could have, but I didn't. But she never said, I'm going to go end Kyle. It's just the way that Sutton made it. And I know that it's just semantic. We're talking semantics, and like the use of the words won't really hide the intent. Like, if the intent was to like actually take down somebody, then it doesn't matter what words you use. But I really don't think that that's what Dorit's intention was in that conversation. That just goes to show you that the game of telephone never really works out great, because you sort of take something that was said, and even the mixture of words, like finding a synonym for a word, but it's not really a synonym for that word, can really destroy the outcome or the effect of you sharing that information that you intended it on having. But Erica and Dorit get into it. And part of it is because Kyle was like, you guys chime in and give me a hand. And Dorit said, well, no one at this table has been supportive to me except Bose. And then Erica got offended by that. And how I know she got offended is because she starts to lash back out at Dorit. She starts to freak out at Dorit. But then finally, when Dorit got up to walk away from the table, and remember I said that I find that Dorit's late all the time and all this stuff, because I heard on another podcast that it could be because she smokes cigarettes. So she's smoking cigarettes, getting her shit together, trying not to smell. I can see that now. I can see it. I had friends that smoke, and they're constantly gone from the table. Like, if we're going out to eat, it's constantly, I gotta go have a cigarette after I have a glass of water, after the appies, after I eat my dinner, after dessert, before I want to leave the restaurant. Like, they're constantly up and going from the table, or they're late coming back. So I get that. Is it right? No. But then her and Erica get into it. And Erica actually broke out into tears when Dorit walked away from the table. And at that moment, I knew that the reason that Erica was behaving that way, because Erica has strong feelings for certain things, and it's usually strong feelings for certain things that are affecting her as anybody else. When you don't care about something, you're indifferent to it. You don't really have as big as of a reaction. But when something is bothering you or really cuts you deeply, that's when your reactions are going to be much more bigger. And when Dorit walked away, Kathy went after her to try to, like, chat with her and be like, look, people care for you, yada, yada, yada. You could see Dorit had the cigarette in her hand, and I'm like, Kathy, she just wants to smoke that cigarette, man. Let the girl smoke. Coming from an ex-smoker who's been almost 7 years off the cigarette, let the girl smoke. Because I know how it feels when you just had a situation like that. You just want to go have your cigarette, calm yourself down. It will calm you down. It's such a subtle calming feeling too. I'm so glad I don't smoke anymore, you guys. And you could tell, and even at the table when she was getting into it with Kyle and eventually Erica, even Rachel spoke up and said the reason that Dorit reacts this way to you, Kyle, is because you guys have a 10-year friendship. Whereas with everybody else, it's just, it's much more shorter. Bose also said this, and I know a lot of people are not liking Bose this season, saying that she's kind of like, wishy-washy with playing both sides of the fence with Kyle and Dorit. But one thing I do love about what Bose says is that when Bose does approach Dorit with her concerns about Dorit, she approaches it with concern rather than judgment, and she doesn't make suggestions. You can genuinely tell it's out of curiosity, even when you watch it back. Now, this could be a difference of, is this just the way that Kyle is when she speaks? Because, sometimes even with my mom and my dad, the way that the tone that they speak in, English as their second language, I get much more offended by the way that they speak. And I'm like, is it because they're also my family and I'm a little bit more vulnerable when I speak to them? Or is it because this is the way that the tone that they speak in is affecting me more? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I have to kind of pick and choose sometimes my battles in that situation. But I feel like when I hear Kyle talk, it's true. I hear her coming from like a place of judgment usually all the time. Whereas when I hear Bose speak, and God bless Bose, she was in the corporate world, so she knows how to do this a little bit better. It comes from a place of, the same even tone, not a place of judgment, rather just a place of curiosity. You can really sense that in the way that she speaks. So I thought that was eloquently put as well. Do I blame Kyle? No. But I feel like Kyle does kind of go into it with a little bit of judgment, and maybe that's also because she has a 10-year or plus relationship with Dorit. They've known each other for longer, so her concerns are going to be a little bit different, a little bit on a different level than a lot of the other people, on the show. So it was good to see. It was a good episode. They all end up going back home. I think it's getting towards the end. I thought it was kind of towards the end there, but then Rachel's having a birthday party. She won't say how old she is, but she's got to be in her early 50s, you guys, no offense to her, but just, I believe when she did the Rachel Zoe show, she was in her 30s, late 30s. So, and now her son's 14 and she didn't have kids back then. So, and it's fine to be a late parent and all that kind of stuff, but I can see why maybe she doesn't want to be defined by her age. But although she looks great for her age and she's doing well for herself and she's newly single, so great addition to the cast. I really do like it. I heard again on the Carlos King podcast that he said that he doesn't see Rachel, like initially people thought Rachel could probably take out Kyle and be like the middle diamond, but because of the fact that he said that she knows that Rachel said that I don't want to get involved with the whole Dorit being late thing. Like, I'm just speaking from a place of I only know Dorit for the past year, and I don't know if this is actually who she is or not. Does it bother me? Yes, but not enough that I want to get into it with her and like team up and ambush her, and And Carlos King said, well, because of that, it's obvious that she's not going to be the middle diamond, because whereas Kyle can kind of push that button and push the envelope, and that's fine. Yeah, let Kyle be the middle diamond. Kyle does need a break. She's kind of exhausted. We're seeing nothing of her personal life except for her daughter's wedding, which has nothing to do with her. Funny that we can't talk about Morgan, but we see her doing all these things with Morgan, and she's touring and all this kind of stuff. But let's talk about Dorit's life. Like, the double standard is just kind of crazy. But anyways, Kyle does need a break. Who will take the middle diamond? We don't know, but Kyle definitely needs to take a break. And I kind of agree. Kyle has always been one of my favorite housewives, but I agree with Reza Farhan when he says that she's one of the most overrated housewives, and she definitely needs to take a break. Because she's become unrelatable now. Like, even with her divorce, quote unquote, and her separation from Mauricio, it's hard to relate to somebody who is not going through the financial things. And even Sutton, like, could relate to Dorit and says, this is just divorce things, like being late and being overwhelmed and quote unquote erratic behavior. Like, this is what happens when you go through a divorce. Kyle doesn't have to go through that. Kyle still has access to the same amount of money that she did before her and Mauricio separated. I would say they have one of the most amicable separations, if not leading into a divorce. Maybe the divorce will play out a little bit different if they actually get to that point, but I feel like she has no idea. And hence why it's hard for her to relate to anybody going through anything, especially Dorit, who's her best friend. Look at her and Lisa Vanderpump. They were best friends and they had a falling out because she couldn't relate or put herself in that position, nor could Lisa. I don't want to get back into that, but I'm just saying, like, it seems like the people that she's known for a very, very long time are people that won't stand up to her. And I had a friend like that. Her name sounded with Bunny, but with an H, something that you put on your breakfast or in your tea. And if anyone stood up to her, she would cut them off. Like, she didn't like to have those hard conversations, or everyone always had to agree with her or nothing. And I feel like Kyle's like that, just from seeing the relationship that she has with Teddy. Now, maybe behind closed doors, they get into it and they, like, give each other their honest opinions. But to me, it seems like Teddy just wants to be best friends with Kyle because she thinks that Kyle's the it person. And she will say anything she won't even critique Kyle on her behavior when it's wrong, and we all know it's wrong. Tamara will call her out. She's like, you're just saying that because you're Kyle's best friend. Like, come on, Teddy. And then after Kyle went through the whole cancer stuff, and then Tamara was there with Kyle. Now Tamara's on that bandwagon too, and she's like, yeah, well, Kyle. Like, Kyle can do no wrong, but Kyle does wrong. The audience sees it, and if a show podcast like that that's so predominantly known for kind of giving their opinion on how the housewives behave are unable to give their opinion honestly, even when the person's in the wrong, now I can see how their friendship has lasted for so long, because no one will go up against someone like Kyle. It's interesting to see this plan out. I'm still team Dorit, even though it does fucking drive me crazy that she's always late. And I couldn't agree with Erica more. Like, just say, hey, I'm talking to my kids. Then we would have all been like, hey, she's talking to her kids. I feel like maybe Erica's not telling Dorit what's going on in her life because Dorit is so overwhelmed with what's going on in hers. Would you, and I love Dorit to death, but Dorit, really, would you have gone in a car and ran over to Erica's house if she called you and said that she was going through something? Or would you have been like, I'm going through my own shit, I would love to be there for you, but, like, really? Because you can't even show up early on time, and like, as much as they did Dorit good by showing flashbacks and saying that she didn't say this and that, like, for instance, the situation with Erica, she didn't wave her hand in front of Erica's face and told her to shut up. With the whole, when she went out with Sutton and Rachel, she didn't tell them, I'm going to bring down Kyle. But then when she boarded the plane in Sedona and she was late, she thought that she'd apologize, and production still showed that she didn't apologize. So I feel like they're being fair, like, they're showing what they need to prove their points across all boards. And I get that Dorit is going through her own thing, but again, Dorit, like, you're on a reality TV show, and if you really want to keep making this paycheck, like, you gotta also take some accountability somewhere. She did apologize. I understand where it's coming from, having this kind of situation with Kyle. I get it. There's just more of an expectation with friends, and Erica even said it, like, there's a double standard, and for a good reason, because, like, there's a longer friendship there, so maybe it cuts deeper than that. Kyle has a little bit more judgment in her voice than Bo's, perhaps. But I feel like if that's your friend, Kyle, and you see that it's bothering her, maybe change your tone. It doesn't have to be forever, but just for this time that she's a little bit more uber sensitive, change your tone. But again, that's what I would do. And without all these kind of different perspectives and attitudes, the show is already, we consider it boring, okay? They need a scandal for real. But they need like Mauricio and Dorit to kind of, no, just kidding. But it's definitely kind of been a slower season. But I like that it's more of a character development season rather than a scandalous season, We're seeing Dorit evolve into this hopefully independent woman and doing her own thing and finally being on her own 2 feet without PK, and we're seeing the evolution of Amanda, and I kind of want Amanda to come back. And before I really, really liked her, I heard people say like, yeah, someone that can grind the women's gears this much deserves to have a second season. And I agree. And it's just a different perspective. It's a millennial perspective. And for that, you can't go wrong. I'm a millennial, so I get it, you know? And I love how she can articulate herself, so I like it. And I do like Bose, even though she might not be the favorite again this season, where she was last season. I like Bose. We're starting to see a little bit of Sutton crack out of her shell. You know what I mean? I don't understand why Natalie is there. We don't need Natalie, but I would love to see more Jennifer Tilly. It's so funny because Sarah Michelle Gellar was also on Watch What Happens Live, and she's saying that Beverly Hills has, is having a downer season, not as, hyped up. And again, back to my episode about reality TV shows, like, I feel like we as an audience have kind of like created this toxic behavior in these reality shows, and like we endorse it more than when it's just kind of copacetic, like this season on Beverly Hills. Although me, as being someone that avidly watches it, I can appreciate a slower season and more of the developing of the characters, but the nature of the beast has changed, and yeah, we're waiting for that big kind of like scandalous moment to hit, and especially now that another scandal has happened on another Bravo show or reality TV show too, mind you. Now it's kind of like it's setting precedent moving forward. So it's just interesting to see how these shows are going to evolve moving forward. But anyways, that's my recap for today. So we did today, what did we do? We did Ladies to London, we did Summer House, and we did Beverly Hills. The Valley has started. So next recap I do will be of The Valley and the Real Housewives of Rhode Island, because it'll be that first episode. And I'm going to try to get to a Dear Nas episode this week as well. I've just been a little bit behind with my episodes. We have a lot going on here in Mexico, so I'm going to do the best that I can. You guys, please reach out to me. I have all my socials in the show notes. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share. You can get all these episodes wherever, and my show wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple, all the platforms. Please share it. Please subscribe. Please comment. I would love to hear from you guys. Send in your questions if you'd like me to answer it on my Dear Nas segments. With that being said, thank you for joining me. Pursuers, remember to be kind to these reality TV show stars, okay? They are going through it right now, okay? We love it. I think I'm going to reiterate this. We're the toxic ones. But just let's be kind to each other. Realize that this is people's real lives, okay? And grateful enough that we're able to be in on it and catch it for our own entertainment, but also just realizing that it is people's real lives. And until next recap, be fit and have fun. I'm just kidding. That used to be a commercial in Vancouver. Be kind to each other, and pursuers, I will see you next episode.